Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining for this, the second of my weekly free lunchtime workshops, what do you want to call it. I'll start the presentation itself in a couple of minutes' time. Hopefully a few more people will arrive first. Just note, we are recording today's session, trying out that feature to see if it's useful, to keep for memorial purposes and to be a new blog post. To keep us entertained in the very short term, please do add in the chat which country you're joining from. That's always interesting to look at. The general chat is on the right-hand side if you haven't found that yet. Chesia, great stuff. UK. We're all spread out already here. It's great. All right, let me share my screen. If you haven't discovered already, if you click on the full screen option next to any window on the screen, it'll be the full size from that point. Maybe more useful. Otherwise, you've got me in the little corner talking away. Still give me a couple more minutes, but things to note. I mean, I'm going to talk now for about 15, 20 minutes, then questions. But as per last week, please do ask questions at any point. Basically, ask away. If you want to come up on stage and ask a question in person, please raise your hand. It should be a feature in your icons there. I'll bring you up on stage, just turn your camera and microphone on and ask your question that way. Otherwise, you've got the Q&A feature. Please feel free to drop questions there. And if it's a good question, upvote it from other people. I'll try to monitor the live chat and great people coming in from all across Europe here. But it can be a bit harder for me to monitor. So Q&A is the best place to drop your questions and thoughts. But with time going away, let's get things started. So, g'day to everyone. My name is Peter. I think I know most of you, or hopefully, or you know who I am. You're registered on LinkedIn. For those who don't, the g'day part gives it away, but I am Australian. I do have a quite strong Australian accent, or so I've been told. And I can speak quite quickly at times, particularly around topics I get excited about, which is data and analytics. So if I do start going too fast, please flag it up in the chat, in the Q&A, and I'll slow down again. I was living, though, in London for 16 years and kept the accent the whole way through, but I moved to the Netherlands 6 months ago. I have been working in the field of digital analytics since about 2006. I started my own agency, L3 Analytics, 2010, merged to become Leap 3, 2016, sold it to AEMA 3 years ago, and exited AEMA last year, birthed my son, coronavirus, lockdowns, it all found time to take some time to myself. I'm also the founder of MeasureCamp. If you haven't heard of that, shame on you, but it's a digital analytics unconference, free to attend, held on Saturdays, where anyone and everyone attending is encouraged to run a session themselves. So it's a whole mix, different ideas, presentations, discussions. A really good way to have conversations to learn a lot of things. This started in London 2012, has gone around the world, currently doing it virtually, and there's still some half the tickets available for MeasureCamp Europe, which is being held on the 3rd of July. And hopefully someone will drop a link to the europe.measurecamp.org website into the chat for anyone to have a look at that. But I'm now back freelancing. I'm a data strategy director, business growth director, whatever you want to call it, under the name of ZHS Orchards. Quickly, these workshops started last week. They should become a weekly thing. We'll see how it goes. I knew when I share my ideas. Not everyone wants to read blog posts. I want to have this here at lunchtime so you can eat your lunch. Hopefully some of you are doing that and follow along. Plus, I mean, I could do a formal course thing, but my ideas are too almost scattered to become a formal course. So this seems to be a better idea to do it. I'm going to talk for about 15, 20 minutes, but I've allowed plenty of time for Q&A. And then you can ask questions at any point. I'll answer questions as I go, otherwise at the end. I do want this session to be practical. So we're talking here today about the e-commerce funnel. I'm hoping everyone here, at least if you've got an e-commerce website, a retail website, will either be able to build their own e-commerce funnel by the end of the session or know what tracking is missing that's stopping them from doing so. It's really practical. And the whole point, I mean, I like to share my ideas. I improve my ideas the more I talk them through, the more I get feedback. And of course, lead generation. I'm back freelancing. So if you love this idea, this funnel, you need some help doing it, get in touch, and I'll see if I can help you out doing it yourself. But getting into this, what is the e-commerce funnel in the first place? I mean, I'm calling it e-commerce. I'm thinking here more retail and e-retail. But for any shop, online or offline, they've got the same customer journey for every single one, whatever you're selling. You go into a shop, go into the front door, you visit a website. Once you're there, you're either looking to shop to buy something, or you're there for a different purpose. And in real life, going to a shop in person, you want to talk to the store manager, you want to return an item maybe. On the website, you're also there to check the My Account section. You didn't mean to go to the website in the first place and you leave very quickly. You're there about recruitment. You're there to read a blog post. But otherwise, you're there to shop. And we know you're shopping because you're looking at products. You're looking at product list pages, department pages. You're halfway through the process. Hopefully, you're shopping, you're browsing the shelves of this shop. At some point, you're going to pick a product up and look at it closer. You're going to look at a product page on a website. And if you find a good product, maybe the first one you look at, or multiple products you try first, at some stage, you'll grab it and you'll put it into your basket. You'll add it to your basket on the website. With one or more products in your basket, at some point, hopefully, the visitor's going to think about making the purchase properly. They're going to, on the website, click the button to commence the checkout process. And that to me is a real mental shift between window shopping to serious shopper. To say, yeah, I want to make a buy. All I have to get through is fill some forms out, put in payment details, and I'll make the purchase. In the real world, obviously, it's walking from the shelves through the checkout counter. And the final stage, obviously, is when you place an order. You make the purchase. You've got to the checkout process, entered in your details, you've swiped your card in real life, the checkout counter, and you can walk out the store with your new items. So that this is common to any retail website. So what can you do with it? Just to show it a bit more detail. Somebody from Florida. Correct, have you joining us, Valerie? This is a visualization map from last week, the e-commerce website. And that first stage, visit the website, you view any page at all across the entire website. But half the people might not be looking to buy. So we want to look then at the e-commerce sessions. The ones who view these pages here, the department pages, the search results, the product list pages, the product pages, maybe the wish list, the basket, and go through the checkout process. All this means is you're here to actually make a purchase, as opposed to looking at the My Account section, just the homepage, read the blog posts, read out the company. And actually with that there straight away, it makes you think that an overall website conversion rate is in a way kind of meaningless, because people are over here, they could never convert anyway. So it's a 0% conversion. What you want to know is people who are reach this section, who are intent to actually look for products, how well do they convert? So an e-commerce conversion rate is much more powerful compared to a website conversion rate. The next stage, you go on to view a product. So you get through the product details page. You then look to add it to a basket. And it's that sort of stage there. You may not go through to a basket page, but but at least you made the process, click the button, add to basket. Stage 5, commence checkout. You're on the basket and you press the button that says, I want to start the process. You may be logged in already, you may not be. You may go to different pages in the checkout process when you start it. You may even go to a third-party website, like a PayPal website from the basket, but you've made that mental shift to say, I want to make this purchase now. And stage 6, obviously, is placing the order, getting to that order confirmation page. So that's what the e-commerce funnel looks like. Now, next step, data, about analytics, about data itself. And I said in some of my blog posts, some of my social media posts around this, all you need is 6 numbers from which you get 5 calculated metrics with 4 comparisons. So let's look at that. First of all, when I start this, and this to me is stage 1 of analysis for any retail website. But I want to keep things simple, at least initially. I may, based on the data and the results from that, go into more detailed analysis, but starting things off, I want to make sure I use the metric of sessions, not users or instances. Instances or hits or page views inflates numbers, not useful. Even users, I just don't trust the metric of users. You can use multiple devices. You can delete your cookies. Whole set of reasons. Sessions isn't as definite. It's a arbitrary type number, but it's consistent. And for a funnel, it's quite useful. And you'll see how it works later on, but start with sessions. I also, to make life simple, treat each stage as independent. I don't go, I want to look at stage 4. Do you create a basket? Have you already gone through stages 1, 2, and 3 first? All I say is, have you triggered stage 4? Have you triggered stage 5? And so on. So they're all independent of each other, makes getting data out of analytics tool much simpler. And everything here as well could be thrown off. If you do things like you don't even look at a product page, you add to basket from a product list page. If you went on a product page, you trigger stage 1, 2, and 3 automatically. So these things can throw the numbers off as well. And I don't care. To get the numbers out initially, keep it simple, and then add in this real life complexity based on the results and as time goes on. So keep that in mind. We get some initial numbers. We had 120 sessions that visited the website, 75,000 sessions that viewed a product, 1,900 sessions in which they placed an order. So for the analysts out there, are these good numbers? Is this good performance? And every good analyst should say, well, no idea. There's no context. I don't know what good looks like. We have to go deeper than that. But like I said before, this is small data. Forget your whole big data programs, your R, your Python. I've got 6 numbers here. That's all I need. I don't even need Excel. These numbers and a bit of a calculator, all I need. To get step 2, percentage of sessions that complete each stage. 85.8% of sessions who visited the website shopped on the website. 72.8% of sessions who shopped on the website viewed any product page, and so on. That's a lot more useful. This can be compared between websites over time without being interrupted by pure traffic numbers. So these are much more powerful, much more useful numbers. And there's only 5 of them. But again, context. What's good, what's bad? Because, sorry, so this earlier, the whole point here, what you're trying to do is identify in this e-commerce funnel, which stage is your weakest area? Because, you might have experts come in and say, retail website, first of all, fix the homepage. Always the biggest problem. Or just as likely, checkout process. Have the checkout process work great on mobile devices. But how do you know? Your homepage will be quite good. Checkout process, really efficient. How do you know where to actually start focusing your attention on what goes on the website? Take the guesswork out of it, look at the data. And these are data points to look at. So given that, does that mean this view product to create basket stage has the lowest number? That's the biggest problem? Well, not necessarily, because you don't actually know what good looks like for each stage. And that's where I was 12, 13 odd years ago, working for a past consultancy going, I've got these numbers, it's really interesting, but what's the context? I'll answer that question in a second. I saw it come through. What's the context here? And I asked my boss this, Matthew Todd, and he said, well, so he quoted some numbers at the top of his head. He said that if you're shopping on the website, 80% of people should go on to view a product. Once you view a product, it should be 20%. And just these numbers for his head. And I've used them ever since. Now, these aren't benchmarks. I'll show them in a second. They're more stretch targets. They're hard to achieve, but they're all possible. So I had a question come through, though. And someone, I think, raised their hand. So let's bring you on stage. Let's actually do this properly. Chin, please put your baking away for a second. Don't burn anything. Turn your microphone and camera on and just join me on stage for a second.
So, well, this is very awkward because I'm right in my kitchen, but I'll try to express myself. I just got puzzled for a second when you went down to the second step in the funnel.
What's shopping?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, how do you define shop on website? Is it people with intention to shop, or how do you get that number? I mean, it's not people who have actually placed an order.
No, it's the intention to shop. What you want to try to do is split people into two groups.
Mm-hmm.
People who may potentially, if it works out well, make a purchase, and people who will never purchase. So people who would never purchase are someone who come in to submit their CV for a job potentially.
Mm-hmm.
They come to the website, go to the job section, send their CV through. You've got one more visit to the website, but they're never going to make a purchase. So why count that number? Equally, if they're going to the My Account section, then we'll look at their purchase they made last week. When is it being delivered, or can they return it? Again, not a viable potential customer.
Right. So, sorry to interrupt you, but if you would be like in a realistic situation, how would you calculate that number? I guess you need to define certain actions as an indication of someone's purchase intent, and then you calculate that. So you just
look at it later on, but it's like this. It's if you view these sort of pages. So if you view any product list page or category page,
right,
it's suggesting, I mean, we don't know for sure, but it's suggesting you're looking at products. Obviously, if you view a product page, more likely. If you go from that point onwards, the basket login section, it's great.
I see.
If all you've done is gone to the My Account section, contact us, recruitment, I don't include you because you haven't even looked at any sort of product listings at any point.
Right.
Now, you may do both. You may look at the My Account section and a product section. If you do both, we count you anyway. You could get more clever with this and add more rules to it, but keeping it simple, if you view any actual shopping-related page, we count you as being an intent to consider purchasing.
Right. So it's a lot about the intent.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Thanks for the explanation.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming on stage and asking the question. Back to your baking. All right, cool. Just glancing in chat. Cool. Yeah, Valerie, so as I talked through then, some parts of the website only. So these sections here, as Michael has said, they've got a view on their website. It includes people who just visit the shop section, excluding everyone else. So I'm going to come on to a good point around this in a second. Let me get to back to where I was. Here. So I mean, even that first section, I've got these targets here, and I call them targets. They're stretch targets. If you've got a website that hits all these numbers, the conversion rate's like 5-6%. It's massive. It's very unusual to have these numbers like this high. They are all possible though. I've seen websites that hit one or two of these targets. Never all of them. It's nearly impossible. But hit one of these numbers. They're all possible. I mean, just think of it in other ways. If you're looking for a product, you've looked at product list pages. 4 out of 5 sessions should be able to find a product that looks more appealing that will look at it in more detail. Once you're looking at product pages, all you need is 1 out of 5 sessions to actually create a basket based on that. Once you create a basket, just over half commence the checkout process. And once you get the checkout process, I want to get 4 out of 5 people through the checkout process. What I'm missing though is a target at the very top stage, because no such thing exists. Imagine you actually went on a big recruitment drive or a blog post went viral. That number there would go sky high. That number there, visit website, will go sky high. This number here wouldn't change. And so that rate would drop down and your overall conversion rate would drop down as well. It's actually pretty meaningless, that stage, in terms of comparison. It depends on your website structure. Do you have a blog? Are you doing a lot of recruitment overall and at certain times of the year? So if you're looking at one number, one conversion rate, comparing place order, visit website, is in a way kind of meaningless because this stage here can vary so much. Looking at just this place order to shop on website number, that number there should be much more consistent. It will go up in promotional periods, but then this should go up as well. So just that e-commerce conversion rate is a much more useful number than the website conversion rate. Side point. So here's the targets. So what we actually then do, we've got our numbers, we've got the targets, do the comparisons. And what we've actually now got is a performance gap between each stage, how our performance plays into the target. What that means, we've got context and comparisons, and we can say the biggest gap in performance is the create basket to checkout stage. We're at 22.7%. It should be up around 60%, everything working brilliantly. Therefore, down by 62%. That's the biggest number in this column. What it means as well is if we focus on this stage, if we can make improvements, 60% is kind of hard, but we could double this stage from 20.7% up to your 45, 50%, and that will double your sales. Here, you're at 76%. As much work as you do, you get to increase it by 5, maybe do amazingly well, increase it by 10%, and increase your sales by 10%. But if you increase your sales by 10% in here, and you can double your sales in there, focus your attention here first, not on just trying to improve your checkout process or the homepage. Focus your attention where you get the biggest bang for your buck. So that's all it is. That's the basics. Get your numbers out, do the calculation, compare against these, and look for the biggest performance gap. That's all we have. Question is, this is the abandoned cart stage. Exactly right. You've created a cart, you've abandoned it before starting the process. And I've got some ideas later on as to what could cause this. But what I'm hoping for everyone here with a retail website, can you get these numbers yourself? All you have to do is get 6 numbers. Do you have access to them? What's your actual numbers saying? And if you can get them right now for the past 1 week, 4 weeks, write them down, do the calculation, compare these numbers, 80, 20, 60, 80, and finding your own biggest gap in performance. We then talk through that in this session. Some tips. This is easier if using GA. I'm assuming it's the same logic for Adobe Analytics or any other tool. Your first number is easy. Visit the website. How many total sessions do you have? The second one, it does require some work at your side to identify what are e-commerce pages. Once you identify those pages, you have to group them together somehow based on the page name, or ideally capturing a page type. Use some regex, create a segment for it. For the future, even better, create a goal around this. And either way, get the number of sessions in which the visitor viewed any e-commerce page, 1 or more of. Similar logic for stage 3, viewing a product. Look at your product page names. Hopefully there's a very consistent pattern there, or possibly your page type is just product page. That's in a content grouping. Once you got that, create a segment, session-based segment. How many sessions viewed 1 or more product pages? Again, create a goal based on this. Then it's just simply the number of goal completions for that time period. Much easier. Now the create basket stage could be harder. Hopefully you got tracking in place for this. On some websites, you go automatically to the basket page when you add a product to basket, in which case, similar to stage 3, it's just the segment or the goal based on views of the basket. Otherwise, you must fire an event whenever a product is added to basket. I mean, this is basic tracking. Hopefully that's in place. But again, with that event, you create a segment, you've got a goal based on the event, number of sessions which it happens. Note again, it's not number of products added to basket, number of sessions in which you add a product to basket. Commence checkout. With good page names here. Every page in the checkout process starts the word checkout. The basket doesn't. So it's just quite simply, show me, create a segment, all the sessions, visitor viewed a page that started with the word checkout. Or you've got a goal set up in the same way. If not though, like say either you go to PayPal straight from the basket, or you go to the login page if you're not logged in, and that login page is called the login page, not the checkout login page. Extra work's required. Easiest way of doing it, you trigger event on the different commence checkout buttons, whether you're off to PayPal or into the checkout process, an event fired on that. Again, the segment, the goal, go from that point. The final stage, placing an order. Do not use transactions here. Transactions could potentially be, and it should be correct, transactions should match sessions in which a transaction occurred, unless there's duplicate transactions, which is a potential problem. What you're looking at here instead, the number of sessions in which a transaction occurred. You possibly get this from your back-end numbers. That should be reliable, that should almost be more reliable than transactions in GA. Also happening here that transactions are within that 5% of actual transactions. You haven't got a big 25% discrepancy. That would mean you're tracking people the whole way through the process, but when they hit the transaction confirmation page, the tracking code doesn't fire properly and the data's wrong. That will skew your funnel. So, how does it just refer to if need be? But that's how you do your own e-commerce funnel. So my question back to you, who has this e-commerce funnel worked out for their website, or who's doing it right now? And if you're doing it, what is the biggest gap in performance for your website? Does anyone have any information they want to share on that without giving away any confidential information, of course? Yeah, so Valerie will be able to do it, trying to pull the information out, and fingers crossed. I mean, this to me, if you can't do this for your website, your tracking is bad. This is day one tracking, GA, Adobe, any tool at all for any retail website. It's where you start off. Any questions? Any questions on any of this? We've got another section I can go through. I can keep on talking for hours, possibly days. And my next section is on the different causes for performance gap in any section. Something to look for at the next sort of stage. Craig sees a lot of drop-off at the abandoned cart stage. And the question is just how big that drop-off is. Because Craig, I mean, if it's half a drop off that point, that's kind of normal to a degree. 40% is definitely normal. 50% probably isn't the biggest issue. 80%, 100 or more, then yeah, you got bigger problems. But that's where comparing that drop-off against the other stages tells you, is this where you need to focus your attention or not? That's why I find it so useful with those targets. And Charlotte's trying to find her data right now in GA. Okay, while people are looking at the data, and yeah, I mean, if people are abandoning their cart, there's a whole set of tactics you can use. But let's look at some of the numbers here, the different reasons here. So, if you're at the first stage, you've people are looking for products and they don't get to a product page. They've looked at product lists, they've maybe looked at one or maybe looked at 20 product lists, and they can't find a product. what's going wrong here? And this stage here should be 80%, ideally. It should be very high. Once someone's searching for products, assume they know your website, they should be able to find at least one product they want to look at in more detail. Some key reasons why things go wrong here. You got poor on-site search functionality. They type in their search term and get back no results or totally irrelevant results. We've all had that experience. Possibly they're spelling the name wrong, in which case parts of their fault, but also all common misspellings should appear in your search results. And what you're seeing very quickly here is that I'm not going to give here's what to change in your website. Once in the e-commerce funnel, you found your biggest problem. The next step, dig deeper. Go through each of these one by one and say, is this the problem? Is that the problem? Go beyond the analytics itself. Run usability surveys. Run usability studies. Look at the website yourself and see what could be going wrong here. But the data, is this a problem? What's the rate of people who are doing a search getting through to a product page? Does that look quite low? Similarly, a poor navigation structure. The top nav itself has got a poor structure in place. It doesn't make sense what they're looking for. They can't find the right category for themselves. Look at products. Everything looks ugly. Prices are too high. Nothing appeals. Your merchandise and that kind of, it's not the website at all from here. It's actually your items merchandise for the business. You need to actually buy in better products, more appealing products, possibly drop your price. And I mean, you're going to get some drop off here, but if it's more than like 20%, things aren't quite right. It could be something like the sequence of which product's being displayed. So you've got a product list page, and the products are listed in most recommended or most popular order. That sequence ain't good. They want to see a different sequence. The top products aren't, in their mind, the top products. There's no options to switch across to cheapest, most expensive, or newest in. There's no filters to apply. They just can't find products they're interested in, and therefore they won't view any product pages. Look for these issues and many more. The create basket stage. I mean, it could be a problem on the product page. The add to basket itself isn't great, but other problems there. I mean, the product price, they may have got past the product list and seen the price going, well, that doesn't make sense. That price is too high compared to the product itself. We'll all have this one here. You found some great products. You click through, out of stock. Click through, out of stock. Click through, out of stock. Swear a computer and go somewhere else. Are products in stock, and especially in the sizes, the colors that you want yourself? I've seen a website before from selling sofas, and before you add to basket, it actually asks you to choose the color, the design, the material, the X, Y, Z, the length of the legs, the wood used for the legs. Way too many options. It was overwhelming. And I mean, and that's what about that stage there. And this metric to show you is a problem. People selecting products to basket is not simple enough. Last two are obvious ones as well. Not enough information. Why should I buy you? You're not telling me anything about the product itself. I don't know what it's made from, if it's right for me. I've got a young child now. Is this product suitable for a 1-year-old or not? If I don't know, I won't add to basket. And of course, poor product reviews. If other people don't like the product, you won't buy it yourself. With this as well, look to see, is it a problem with all products or just some products? That's the MeasureCamp report. It's a whole different story. The commence checkout stage. I've switched to animations for some reason here. No idea why. This was the biggest problem. This is the abandoned carts. One reason could be the discount is offered for new customers only. And you bought here once, 3 years ago. And that means you can't get that 10% off discount, and that's really frustrating. So you try various options and you give up. It's where you may see for the first time the delivery times or delivery costs go, what? It's going to be 8 weeks? The Peloton bikes right now are going to take that long to be delivered? No thanks, I'll try somewhere else. It actually might be fine. This stage may not be 22%, it's actually 45%. But your tracking's wrong. you're not tracking people going off to PayPal or to Amazon Pay, and therefore your numbers in your funnel are wrong. And that's the problem. Double check that. Are you looking at the right data or not? Do you even trust the website? I mean, a website you don't know yourself, it's got a weird name, there's no trust icons there. You can't tell if this is someone real or possibly trying to scam you, which won't deliver the product you're actually after. That can cause problems. So add the trust icons, this rate will go up, you make more money. We all know the idea of this all sounds great, I want to buy this product. Oh, you take coupon codes. So you're making this cheaper. Let me just double check that. And you find a site with coupon codes and you try your 20% off and your free shipping and none of it's working, and you actually get frustrated and abandon the purchase because you wanted that bit because they told you get it cheaper and now you can't. That can be frustrating. Can you actually hide the coupon code option? And finally, checkout process, the forms there. Can you pay with your American Express for the US customers? I'm now in the Netherlands. A lot of cards here are Maestro cards for some weird reason. Can you pay by Maestro card or not? If you can't, that's the card I've got. I won't buy it. I want everything, but I haven't got the right card for you. There could be too much personal information required to place the order. It doesn't feel right. You shouldn't need my mother's maiden name to place an order. I don't want to create an account. It's a one-off purchase. I don't want you to store my information permanently. Can I just give you my money? Just take my money, send me the product. I don't want to create an account. 4 and 5, you can't deliver this visitor. It's out of the delivery zone. Brexit, EU, some issues there. Or even the cost of the purchase changes. There's extra cost you weren't aware of. For myself, visiting the US in a store there, going to buy something, a new shirt, it was $20, and something at the counter is $25 because they add the sales tax at the counter, not on the price tag itself. Valerie, I think this is crazy. I don't know why it works that way. It doesn't make sense to the rest of the world. That happens online, can put you off and go, I don't trust you anymore. I'm out of here now. And then that's across the entire website. Any broken functionality for across the board, if you can't make a purchase. I mean, and I've found before a UK website, big retailer, where you could not buy on the mobile website. Back in the day, desktop mobile websites, you press the button, it wouldn't work. It tells you there's an error on the, is this an error? Try again later. They didn't know people trying to buy on mobile websites and they wouldn't have their money. There was a bug there somewhere. At different stages, languages could be an issue, currency became a big issue. And trying to understand the impact of that currency, what stage will it impact in the e-commerce funnel, what the cost is of offering your products in different currencies against the amount of money you'll make, that could be powerful to do. I looked at a website a couple of weeks ago, was selling clothing for tall, bigger men, your extra large sizes for your 6'6" people. But it didn't say on the website that's what it did. You have to dig deeper in it and go, well, weird. All the sizes are big sizes to actually know what it's all about. If that's not clear, why would you buy from them? It even could be a single traffic source. You're in display ads, it's driving lots of traffic. It's really low quality traffic. It's people who watched an influencer unboxing a product on YouTube and then click through the website. Their conversion rate is usually much lower. So overall, you're actually okay if you strip out that one traffic source. I mean, even looking at it, your numbers may look okay overall. If you split your traffic into customers and your prospects, which is you can kind of do in the data with the tracking, split it that way, your customers, they buy at massive conversion rates. They know your website, they trust you, they know how to get through the process. Your prospects, they really underperform. They're underperforming at all stages. They can give you really valuable insights into what you need to fix. It. You think it's okay, it's actually not. And that did happen to the client previously. So, I mean, I've talked for much longer than I meant to talk. Please, questions. For the people trying to work out their numbers quickly on the fly there, Charlotte, etc., have you got your numbers? What's the biggest problem you've found on your website? What stage is the biggest issue? Any questions, the sort of comments I've made there? Anything you want to add to yourself to potential problems at any stage of the checkout process? Please raise your hand or add the question in the Q&A. While waiting for that, whoops, someone put this on the chat. Cool. So Charlotte asked a very good question here. One, she can't get all her stats. That's always frustrating. It may need better tracking being put in place. And I mean, if you can't get the e-commerce funnel out, analytics for a retail website is pretty much useless. So that's the negative side of looking at this. But you saw the data there. Don't MS tracking to get this right. But should you expect different standards for B2B versus B2C? Yeah, you would. I mean, these targets I've used, the 80, 20, 60, 80, they're from the top of the head of my old boss. There weren't anything specific here. They're not sector specific, even though sort of women's fashion retail versus buying kids' toys. They're definitely not B2B versus B2C. I think they're probably more useful for B2C. That's where I've used them the most. If it was B2B, I'd use them as a starting point. The good thing is the ratios between different stages should still reflect something. I mean, that checkout completion rate being 80%, that should be equally applied for B2C or B2B. Potentially other stages, the add to basket may be, or probably commence checkout, basket to checkout, that stage will be very, very different. It has to get sign off internally. So you will have to adjust accordingly, and I don't have numbers for you, unfortunately, but these are a good sense check. It's good to think through what the numbers should be, what the targets should be, and then look at it accordingly. So Chinchin's asked the question here, do you have any examples of how to identify the potential issues? I mean, for me, mostly, it's in the data first of all. Looking back, here's where I ended up. All right, part of it is personal experience. Looking at this, I mean, for these questions here, the first couple, 1, 2, 4, 5, a survey would work, or a session replay tool, like a MeasureCamp type tool, and looking at what's happening here. In the data, one thing I look at for this stage here, when you create a basket, do you want to view the basket page or not? That's the analytics side of it. What's caused that drop off? Because if it's people creating baskets and not viewing the basket page, that's very different from when they create the basket, then click through to the basket, and then abandoned. So that's a good data sort of point. I'd also want to add tracking to the basket page itself. And at that point, this is critical for me. I would track every button. I would track scrolling on the basket page. I consider getting through to that stage and then abandoning. What's the behavior on that page? MeasureCamp, etc., session recording tools are very useful. I would double check this factor here and see what the conversion rate at this point. What it would probably show if they're not being tracked is that you almost got more people complete the process to make the payment compared to people who check out process. So your data here is incorrect. You've had 1,000 people create the basket. You've had only 200 commence the checkout process, but you had 250 people place an order. That can't be right. That means this number here is too low. I'd then check out this number 3 to see, is it a tracking issue? So, I mean, it depends. I always start with the data first. I'd look first at, is it a tracking issue? And are they at least viewing the basket page? Once I know that, I'd then dig deeper from that point onwards. What could cause that problem? I hope that helped answer the question. if the Q&A. Jimmy's asked, do you know if the key stats you nominated are possible to pull out of Shopify specifically? I don't know, to be honest. I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, I just don't know. I would hope so. They may not use sessions. They may go users instead. That's a problem for the comparison targets, but still, overall, it's an idea of it. These are the key stages. I mean, maybe not the e-commerce shopping, but the other stages, the view products, create basket, commence checkout, I hope that's in Shopify, because if Shopify does not have that, again, to me, doesn't have basic analytics. Take a look and check for yourself. But with Shopify, the integration between Shopify and GA should give you most of these numbers. And again, all you're after is 6 numbers as well. It shouldn't be that hard to get, hopefully. Yeah, so Craig's asked the question, Hotjar. So I was saying SessionCam, Hotjar, yeah. I think that's where, for me, this works. So analytics identifies where the problem is. If you can get deeper into it, and at some stages, you can answer questions about the data, where the problem is, what and the why within the data as well. Especially if you see the issue only occurs on a certain browser. Well, the problem's in the browser. I can go straight to that. I know why the problem's occurring. But Hotjar, SessionCam, ClickTail, etc., they're great for diagnosing the why when you know the what. I want to look at analytics first, because if you just go straight to a Hotjar, potential problems everywhere. There's so much to look at. Narrow it down. And this is where the session replay tools couldn't do this 5-8 years ago. They can now, believe. I want to define the problem I'm looking at. My problem is people who create a basket, go on to view the basket, and then do not commence the checkout process. I've narrowed down where my problem is, and to then create a segment of sessions to replay based on that logic. I'm straight to the point. I want to watch 100 of these options, and by the end of those 100 session replays, I'll know what the cause is. I'll know where to fix. So start here, narrow down your problems, and then go to the other tool. Michael is shocked, as I mentioned before. I mean, I agree. This to me is the starting point. If you aren't tracking this, as I said before, your analytics is kind of pointless. This is where you start. And yeah, there are so many retailers out there not even doing this. And I get frustrated, and some CRO experts will come in and say, let's fix the homepage. Let's fix the checkout process. Start here. Know first where your biggest problem is, and then go deeper into it. So that's any more questions that I can try and answer? I mean, I'm aware this has been 50 minutes. Thanks for sticking around so far. There is a blog post as well for this. I wrote this blog post a while back. The link is now going in here. That's more details on it. It's basically what I've talked through, but the way of reading through it and sharing with others. But this is a recorded session that earlier. I'm looking to then publish this on my website as a blog post. Watch it that way. As Valerie says, we've got visitors and we've got sales. That's a good starting point, but then it's good or it's bad. You got to dig deeper, and it becomes the funnel and then segments. But can I ask you, 1, 2, or 3, thinking for next week, doing this sort of weekly, here's a registration. I'll drop this deck into the current event for, so you can look at it that way. The next week's event is already set up, but what is the topic you want to hear? Last week, I talked about website visualizations. I can return to that example and give more examples around it. I now have a visualization, a much bigger one, for the Volkswagen Belgium website. Took a bunch I want to do. It's much bigger. If you want to talk through a big example, I can go through it there. upvote against number 1 in the Q&A. Second option was the one I talked about last week as well, turning visualization maps into Web Analytics page naming conventions, and what that process looks like. If you want to talk about this, there's a blog post already, but I can talk through that and give more examples. Or the third option is another tool I've got, which is a performance diagnostic. It's a really ugly data puke on a big Excel file, but it's a way of looking at all your key numbers in one place at one time. You look at it once every 3 to 6 months. You have things like your e-commerce funnel in it, and you look at the e-commerce funnel comparing its new versus returning visitors by traffic source, by browser, by device type, by entry point, by country. And so your e-commerce funnel is great top line view. Now you segment it, plus segment other metrics. So that's another talk for the future, which with 8 votes is what you want to see next week. So next week's talk will be on the performance diagnostic. Be prepared, ugly spreadsheet, but again, practical. I'll share with you the template to download yourself. I'll use retail as the example for it, but we'll go through how to create it and how to use it. And please come prepared with questions. Also, if today's session was good, please register for next week. And then if you could share it on social media, on your LinkedIn, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anything else. We had about 27 people join today. That was good. I'd love to have 50 to 100 people joining, sharing it more widely. I am after some leads from us as well. So I appreciate if you can share the next week's talk. Give me an hour actually to add in the topic for it as well. Any final questions before I turn things off? Nothing coming through. My contact details, email, Twitter, LinkedIn, the website. My ideas are on blog posts. I keep on adding to that. If you've got questions, feel free to ask the questions. I'm always happy to answer questions. Jump on a 15-minute, 30-minute call and help you out a bit. Of course, if you actually want to look at this funnel for yourself, help with the tracking to get the funnel right, then to work through how to actually use it, drop me a line about that. Happy to talk you through how I can offer support with this as well. Thank you all very much for your time. Enjoy your afternoons, and I'll hopefully see you all back here next week. Cheers. Bye.